Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where the topic is why the Microsoft Power Platform is the future of Microsoft PPM. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit any questions that you may have. I will address these during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I'll be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted on our YouTube channel. I will now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. The topic today of why the Microsoft Power Platform is the future of Microsoft PPM is meant to address some of the questions people have in the Microsoft ecosystem about project and portfolio management and the directions of Microsoft with this. And we're here to give you some more information about what that is and what it looks like and show you some of it live in demonstration today. So with that, let's get started. We're bridging the work management gap today. Work is changing. The nature of the worker is changing in the workplace. And there's some fundamental things that are driving changes that are needed in the way we do work and manage projects. One is, it's not just classically trained project managers that are managing projects today. There are the casual, informal, or some calling accidental project managers who periodically get dubbed project manager for the purpose of a specific effort. But they're not all classically trained to do so, meaning they need tools and capabilities to be able to intuitively manage that project to successful completion. In this day and age, we all believe collaboration is critical. With remote workforces today and the fact that many of us aren't in the office and that we have more geographically dispersed teams, even globally today, it can be chaotic and work is always happening everywhere and coming at us from a lot of different directions. We also want to manage work our own way. There's a lot of different methodologies and frameworks being used, from traditional waterfall to agile, scaled agile, and everything in between. But oftentimes the legacy tools we've inherited at our organizations don't allow us to do the things we need to do in the way that would be optimum to do them. So because of this, teams are choosing some of their own tools to succeed. With the advent of cloud tools and the easy access of those, teams are kind of doing some shadow IT and implementing their own things to get the job done and innovating in a way that seems to make sense to them. So because of this, we have silos of information, all different tools and files scattered around the organization. And we want to use our data effectively, but it's a mess because we have silos of information. Reporting to do across all that is generally a manual data gymnastics exercise that we have to mash up the data and then transform it into something consumable, something that's meaningful information for decision support. And we need to make better decisions, and no one has that big picture without a lot of pain and effort in many cases. Now, most platforms today in the IT world or in the solutions world only see some of the business data. So you might have a lot of different things going on in the company, but a platform may only give you a slice of that. Now, in reality, most processes are far more connected than an individual platform will give you. And those things are not connected or disconnected and form isolated silos oftentimes. And Microsoft is in a unique position to bring them all together with their cloud offerings. The Office in Microsoft 365, many of us are using today. It's prevalent and ubiquitous out there. Dynamics 365, the business solutions cloud platform with things like Dynamics and CRM and finance and operations and field service and other things like that. And then in Azure, people are putting applications and their own workloads up in the cloud, as well as different vendors who are using that platform to deliver online solutions to their customers. So with this powerful combination, there's all kinds of options just within the Microsoft Cloud itself to manage projects and work. So there's the possibility that people could be using disconnected things in a disconnected way, though not realizing there's the opportunity to bring this all together. The new, Project for the Web, which has been introduced to supplement Project Professional on the desktop, along with things like Azure Boards for Agile, Teams and Planner and things we do in Outlook and et cetera. There's all kinds of places where work and tasks can be put within this. So in a connected work management platform, being able to bring this stuff all together is a vision that can be realized. And to that end, Microsoft's work management vision is teams should get to work the way they want, but enterprises should still get the results that they need. How can we provide teams the latitude of the things they want to work with in a flexible way and an easy way, but still have enterprises get that composite and comprehensive view that they need to successfully manage their businesses? So to introduce that, Microsoft Project, not too long ago, introduced Project for the Web. It is designed to be a simple and powerful project management solution that is not as involved, I should say, as Microsoft Project on the desktop. You know, seasoned project managers who are trained in that and trained in the tool and have runtime with Project love it because it's robust and does a lot of great, powerful things. But to that casual, accidental project manager, it can be daunting and overwhelming at times. And to be able to provide a browser-based capability to build a plan and a schedule and track it and get a team involved is a vision that Microsoft is fulfilling with this. The ability, like you see here, to do a Gantt chart, for example, in a browser. Be able to work with that same data, not just in a Gantt chart type view like this, but maybe in a board view, like you want to use this more Kanban style and move things through their progressions and their completion status. Or even just in a simple grid that is more like a spreadsheet, something that you could just really build a list of things and assign to people and work with the data in any mode you like at any given point in time. The key here is to provide a fresh new experience, make collaboration easy with co-authoring and such, intelligent planning because it has a scheduling engine behind it, and really being based on an innovative platform, which we'll talk about here shortly. The key is to give you just enough capability to do the powerful things you need to do, but not overwhelm you with the things that you don't need or might not use. Now, the new Microsoft Project Online and the things associated with it are built on the Power Platform, and many of you are using components of that Power Platform today. I would say probably to the most extent, Power BI is used prevalently in Microsoft shops, using business analytics for dashboards and reporting and visualizations from a variety of tools and data sources. Power Automate is gaining traction rapidly for business process automation, replacing the things we used to do with SharePoint workflows and things like that in an organization. And then Power Apps being the low-code, no-code platform that allows us to fashion applications of a variety of sorts in a way that does not require a developer on your hip or at your disposal in order to do that, is really the wave of the future at Microsoft and in the industry at large. And all in all, the data is being stored in a robust backend database repository called Dataverse. It used to be called the Common Data Service, but the Dataverse is the name of it now for those of you that have been following this along. And the idea here is that everything is now available for applications for business process automation and for reporting and analytics in that common repository. Now, this project for the web that we talked about is based on this foundation. All of its data gets stored in Dataverse, and this platform is where things are moving for project and portfolio management at Microsoft. Now, those of you that are saying, well, I'm using Project on the desktop by itself today, I'm using Project Online, which is a SharePoint-based solution. Is this something I want to move to? Is this something that would be risky? Well, Satya Nadella himself is saying that the Power Platform is one of the leading bets that Microsoft is making in the core of what they're doing as a company. So you can be rest assured that if you make this move in this direction at a certain point, that you're going in the same direction where Microsoft is headed. Now, to that end, this whole concept of accidental project managers, the people that have more robust needs, how can we then use this platform to provide you solutions where you're at today or what your needs are? Not everybody has the same needs for level of rigor in managing their projects. So there's a crawl, walk, run approach that you could take as you try to evolve to the maximum, or either one of these three could be where you end up and where you think that's just enough project and portfolio management for us to work with. So to that end, if we think about people in Project for the Web building, multiple project plans from different sources, that data is natively being stored automatically in Dataverse for you without you having to save the data or anything like that. It's going into a repository that's designed specifically for this solution or this application. Now, at its core, if we want to think about what a crawl might be, A crawl might be, well, maybe we just want to use that simple web-based interface of Project for the Web to build our project plans, to track it, to get status from our teams, maybe do a little co-authoring. And then on top of that, add the out-of-the-box report pack for it in Power BI that Microsoft provides to provide that visualizations across multiple projects and be able to see what's happening across all the different project plans that are being built. So in a crawl phase, you could actually have people build plans using the Project for the Web and get visualizations across all of it using Power BI. So if we take this whole save to Dataverse model, and then our output across all that information could be reporting. In this case, I'm showing examples of, say, a portfolio dashboard with information from all the different projects that are being created, with some slicing and some filtering and those types of things. Or maybe portfolio timelines, where we can look at high-level timelines across all the different projects and get that strictly from a reporting perspective. And this is attained fairly readily using this new Project for the Web. Now, if you really want to leverage the power of Power Apps for solutions, we can leverage the same data that is actually captured in Dataverse and really leverage it as the repository or the back end for a full-blown solution in Power Apps. And that's where we can actually start to replicate things that you might be used to using in, say, Project Online, and be able to have some things in there that give you a full PPM solution as opposed to just an aggregation of files and project information. In that regard, Microsoft, instead of having you build your own solution in Power Apps that would leverage Project for the Web, there is new Project Accelerator that was introduced in March that is provided by Microsoft, and it's free to download, and you can access it with the proper licensing and use it. We're proud to say OnePlan Solutions was actually integral in helping Microsoft develop this. Some people refer to this as the Project Accelerator. Some people call it the PPM Accelerator. Some people even call it the Project App. So just be aware when some of those terms are being used interchangeably, we're really talking about this Power App solution that's pre-built for leveraging Project for the Web. In this case, it provides capabilities like project requests, a place to manage programs, which are collections of projects and the attributes around those programs, to be able to have a portfolio of projects or a roster of projects that you can actually put data and elements against, be able to have resources and a resource pool that you can access from within here and report on, as well as a report pack that's even extended beyond the one I showed you in the crawl stage that has some things that leverages the Power Apps data as well. So in this, I consider this a walk stage. This PPM Accelerator, you can get this with the Plan 3 and Plan 1 licensing for Microsoft Project, and then install it and have these capabilities. It's a pre-configured solution. You don't have to do anything to it to start using it as a solution. It has extended Power Apps entities, like I mentioned, with project requests and programs, and within the projects, be able to add things like issues, risks, change requests, etc. And the idea here is that the schedule that you build in Project for the Web is just one component of the project attributes. All the other things like issues, risks, changes, and maybe status reports, rolling these things up to programs, etc., flush out a more robust and more diverse set of project information, and then still getting that information out into Power BI. Now, what do you get with that? You get things like demand management, which is a place to actually capture and approve project requests and ultimately promote them to projects when there's something you want to do, and then have dashboards that turn that into meaningful information. Program management to aggregate collections of common projects into a common program and roll that information up to a program level. Project management with a variety of things that you can do in Project for the Web. Risk registers and reports that actually give you things like risk matrices. Issue management, where you can have issues logs and reports. Change management, where you can capture change requests and approve those to make sure that we're working on things that everybody agrees that we should be authorized to do and spend money on. Status reports for not only the objective data that comes out of a solution like this, but the narrative-based status that we put in place. And then the ability to surface this information within Teams. Teams being the fastest growing and fastest adopted tool that Microsoft has ever launched, people want to be able to access this data from within Teams, and that capability is there as well. And then the project intelligence, we talked about a native feed out to Power BI into these report content packs, makes this a natural output of the process without you having to mash up that data and do all the data gymnastics we talked about in the previous slides. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Paul Estabrooks, and he'll show us a demonstration of these capabilities live and in action. Take it away, Paul.
Good day, everyone. So I'm going to walk through the accelerator in a fairly brisk little demo here to give you a feel for what Jim just covered in those screenshots, and we'll try and cover most of that content. You'll see as I log in, I'm in here in a Power Apps frame. I've landed on My Workplace, the dashboard, where you could see a series of very quick reports. I could drill into those, dig into more information, but it surfaces some core information that I may need to know as a head of a PMO or a project manager or what have you. So I can quickly click on this, pull out these charts and so forth. So immediate sort of access to information that I may find very useful, or some of those charts specifically for what I'm trying to do that day or that particular moment. But let's sort of walk through this in a little bit more of an orderly fashion. So if I look at my project request, so I could come in here and say, I'm going to create a new project request. This is very useful information. You can obviously configure this. It extends this idea of capturing requests and things out to the organization, engaging the audience, whether it's through a Power App here or embedded in Teams, as Jim just talked about. But engaging that and capturing that information, frankly, better than how Project Online was capable of doing this, because we have a very simple form. We can add a little bit of capability to it if we need to. We get that initial information that we can then validate and review, apply a flow to it or a Power Automate to work this through from request to review to into the program and projects you'll see down the list. So very quickly, I can capture that information in a nice new form. So if I maybe grab one that's here and just pull it open, you can see the various information, prioritization scores, some other information we might want to capture. Again, configurable to what your business needs are. So now, having done that, this concept of program and projects, and Jim covered this in some of the slides. Here I have programs. I have this ability to create a bucket that I can look at these different projects and organize them around some core objectives or core management structures or ownership. This is capability that we didn't have this flexibility in Project Online. So now we have this capability here to come in and describe the bucket, this ownership structure, and have information about it in addition to the projects that are underneath it. So I have this general information. So this is a program, it has a name, it has a state, it's active or it's not. It actually has an owner, potentially a manager as well, and so forth. And it has business case and other information. And it also has a budget. So we've defined that for this portfolio, or this program rather, there is a budget that we've applied to it. And we've got some projects in it right now, but you can see we have a remaining budget allocation. So we have room left in this budget to take on additional work. Not all the projects that we've put in here have budgets in them, so we're kind of early days in sort of defining this, but we have availability. So we've defined the bucket in that manner. We can also have a status. So in addition to having statuses on each of the projects that comprise the program itself can have its own status, can have its own narrative, its own story that we're capturing and managing here as a program manager. And then sort of to bring it sort of full circle, is it has in it a set of projects, and we can work with these projects, review them, add new ones, add an existing project. So perhaps one that just came through from a project request and we want to include it in our program because that's where it belongs. So we, as the owner of the program, can pull that project in and away we go. So we've created this construct, it's here. You can obviously add other additional configuration to it and extend it further. But this idea of a bucket where it has its own budget and we're tracking that by rolling up the budgets and so forth of the projects within it to show what we've consumed and what we have left, what other work we can take on, and then being able to drill in and engage with each of these projects that make up our program. So a quick tour of the program capability. Now I'll look at the projects list. So this is I'm looking at my active projects. So there's a complete project list here of all the projects that are in here. I have the ability to do some quick grouping. So if you're used to project center views, you'll see similar kind of capability here. I've got a bunch of projects that are in my various create, select, plan, manage governance structure. Again, you can configure that. Maybe I want to look at them by, by owner or by finish date or by financial health or so forth, and some other data that I might want to look at. So I've got different ways of grouping them based on whatever custom fields that we're using in here to describe them. So I'm gonna go back to no grouping just for a second. I can also look at charts. So I could say, show me the charts by, active issues by business unit or budget by business unit. So I could quickly drill into this data here with my charts that are capable there. If you're used to Power Apps and some of the dynamics capabilities, similar charting skill thing there. But this grid is also editable. So I could come in here and say that this project, you know what, it's actually at risk on schedule. I'm aware of that from something. So I can now make edits to this grid rather than going in, making those changes and publishing it. I can actually interact with the grid here live and in person. So that's my capability sort of looking at the projects. Now if I dive into one, so I'm gonna go to, sorry, I just moved it on me. I'm gonna go to this job fair and spend a bit of time on this particular project. Whoops, there we go. So I have some initial information. So again, that data would have flowed through from the project request. Maybe I've got some other information. So I'm pulling up some data from the schedule, which we're going to look at in a minute, and some other summary here. The financials, where does this fit within the program, who owns it, and so forth. All that information. It also has a business case. So I can describe what this project is, its business case, the value statement, how did it score. Again, this data may have been captured in the project request. Some of it may have been, and now as it gets into this next stage of its existence, we're going to add some more data here as we fill this out, configurable to your business scenario. Now we're going to dive into Project for the Web. So embedded within here is Project for the Web. So I have my little schedule here, ignore the time zone issue, and we're going to look at this schedule. We got a few tasks. I could continue to add more tasks. I can build this out. So if you haven't seen Project for the Web before, spend a few minutes here on it. There's my grid where I can fill out the different tasks. I can assign them to people within my project team. I can set start and end dates, sort of standard grid-like capability. Perhaps I want to look at this more in a board view. So I'm going to look at who this is assigned to because it's got some interesting information. So I've got a couple of unassigned tasks. So I can say that that's going to be Daniel's, and I'm going to make this Adam's task. So I can move tasks around and do the resource assignment here. Again, this is the assigned to view. Maybe I want to do this in buckets like sprints, or I could define what that bucket is and then describe how the tasks relate to the specific buckets, or if I want to look at them in progress, what's started and what's not. We haven't got anything started on this particular project yet. Third is the standard timeline view that we're used to if you've ever used Project in the past. So I'm going to zoom that down a little bit so we could see where these tasks reside. I could potentially make a task longer and change everything that way. So very graphical, very easy to work with. So it gives us those three types of views. That ability to fill out a grid, create a task, assign it to someone, give it a start and end date, and so forth. That ability to look at it through a board, move stuff around between who it's assigned to, or mark what's in progress, maybe mark stuff complete, assign it to in some other bucket that we've defined. The classic one would be sprints. And then third, to look at it in this traditional timeline view where you can now move things around and drill into this in greater detail. If I click on this, I can open up the details of this particular task. So who it's assigned to, start, end dates, duration. I can mark this and say that it is now 25% complete, and it's going to move and advance that a little bit. It's in the to-do bucket. Maybe I should put it in a different bucket. I'll do that later. It's got some completion. So that's the calculation of that work. I could add a dependency, maybe add an attachment that I want to link to this task. So all that information's here. And now I've completed that work. And you can see there's the 25% done that I just did. So that's a quick tour of Project for the Web. Very user-friendly, very easy to work with, aligned to how this system's going to work and how it's the kinds of information that I want to track. Some other things Jim mentioned in the slides that I wanted to cover off were I want to look at my risks and issues and then ultimately a status report. So I've created a risk in here that says, we have a potential issue with facility availability. It has an exposure calculation. So if I want to click on that and look at a little bit more detail, it's assigned to Grace. Daniel owns it. That's who I'm logged in as. So I've assigned it to someone. I've captured some initial information. I could come down here and say, hey, Grace, this is what we're dealing with. Can you kind of figure out what our options would be? She might come in and quickly fill out, look, we could do this. We could move it to another venue and so forth as our mitigation or our contingency. We could change the date, what have you. So standard information that you'd want to capture as part of a project management solution in terms of helping drive these projects to get them done. Likewise, we can have an issue as well. So I put in sort of the standard one that I think everyone would worry about these days is what are our limits on attendance given current restrictions. So again, I've assigned that to Steve to look at what our options might be. Again, I could provide a description so that he better understands it, and then he could provide a resolution once it's done. Actually, I've assigned that to Christine. There you go. So Christina could come in and fill out that information and give that to us. Change request works the same way. You can come in and create a new change request. So I want to do a new change. Again, configurable form. What are we trying to do? Who needs to approve it? What are the kind of tasks we need to get done? Are we going to go forward with this or not? But it gives us that ability to track it. We could wrap a flow around any of these to notify individuals, capture information, get updates. And then the status report. So I have some status information and I could come in and say, well, I'm going to create a new status report. The standard narratives that people want to be able to capture. Who's submitting this? Where am I sending it to? What's the name of the status report? So let's say it's the end of April status report. What are my accomplished activities? What have I got coming up next? Any other comments that I want to have as part of the record in how we are going to manage this project going forward and things that we need to be aware of and want to track. So we capture all that information. It snapshots the current state of things, those different KPIs, and generates a status report for us to sort of circulate and or to report on and to have as part of the record for this project. I'm going to end on just jumping into the reports. I'm going to log in quickly to Power BI. In here with the Accelerator comes a set of reports that we have at our disposal using the rich Power BI UI and capabilities. And Jim covered this a bit in the slides, but you could see we've got what's our program health, we've got program financials, so how are we doing in terms of spending that money, where do we have available budget, which projects are taking up the most budget, and so forth. I can look at some other information as I go across the whole list here. So the Accelerator ships with a set of reports that leverages this data that we're capturing around risks and issues and projects and programs, project requests as well. So we can look at where we are in terms of our overall execution of our portfolio of projects. Before I wrap, I'll just quickly plug next week's webinar. We're going to make a little switch here. We're going to add some capability to this, and you'll see a bunch of other stuff has popped in, my work, my timesheets, and so forth. This is next week's demo where we're going to show how we've extended that Accelerator to add yet more capability to address some upcoming or more advanced requirements. And Jim's going to talk more about that as we wrap, but I wanted to sort of give you a teaser for what we're going to cover next week. Jim, with that, over to you.
Thanks, Paul. Let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Thanks for the great demo. Really appreciate that. So let's talk about some summary information and some next steps and some information that might be helpful in the context of what you've already seen here today. So from a licensing perspective, the interesting part here is if you're Microsoft Project users today and using Project or Project Online, a number of your users may already own what you need to do some of this stuff. Project Professional, known today as a Project Plan 3, Project for the web, known as Project Plan 1. And when you own Plan 3, believe it or not, you also own Plan 1. So if you're an existing Microsoft Project Plan 3 user, you can start trying out the Plan 1 capabilities with the Plan 3 license you have. There's many people that don't know they have that capability at their disposal. And upcoming, there's new features are going to be becoming available for Plan 5 as well that's out there. And now when you put together a solution like this with the Accelerator and your Plan 3 and Plan 1 licenses, when you do the layout of roles and people, the new solution ends up being priced very similarly to what you did with Project Online. And if you're licensed for Project Online, you may be licensed for a bunch of what you already have here today. And what Paul was showing with the Power Apps pieces, this can be extended with fields and other things that you might want to provide new capabilities as needed, and some of the things we're going to show you next week. So Plan 1 was really meant to not have all the things that Plan 3 has, including access to Project Desktop. But recently, Microsoft is really adding value to Project Plan 1. So where, for example, the Power Apps pieces that you had here used to be view only with a Plan 1 license, and to do all the Power Apps things in there that you saw today, you needed a Plan 3 license. Well, if you look at the transition here, Just yesterday, Microsoft announced that those Plan 1 users can do all those things in the Power App that the Plan 3 user can do today. So just be aware that those capabilities are there. And also with Project for the Web, if you have an Office 365 license, those Office 365, or I should say Microsoft 365 license users, also get read-only capabilities to view the Microsoft Project for the Web project plans so that people can actually see them. They can't do anything with them, but you can distribute and disseminate that information to Office 365 users. Now, with that, just be aware that, Microsoft continues to enhance. They keep adding capabilities. So it's happening fairly rapidly. So just keep aware that there's a blog out there and things to keep you abreast of new features and things like that. So what you're seeing today is not the end of the road. They're going to continue to add more and more capabilities to this so you can feel comfortable that this is only going to get better for you over time should you decide this is a platform that you want to be on. Now, you can try the PPM Accelerator. If you have access to be able to leverage a Power Apps environment in your organization, you can actually go to our app source and you can get access to the PPM Accelerator. I would suggest you do that because we can actually give you some hand-holding and support and chaperoning of the use of the accelerator if you go this route. Alternately, you can go to GitHub and get it directly from there. But the idea here is that we can help you as a value-added resource to make sure you get the most value out of your evaluation of the PPM Accelerator. Also, people might think, how do I get it? I'm a Project Online user. How would I get to this new solution? Just be aware that as an organization, we have worked ourselves and with some of our strategic partners to provide migration tooling to get that data from where you're at today in Project Online to the Project Accelerator into Power Apps. So be aware that there is a path forward for that. So to summarize what you saw today, Microsoft is definitely in the process of reimagining what we've been doing with Project Online for years. And this new Microsoft solution is built on the Power Platform. And the Microsoft Project Accelerator is now available. And we're proud to say that we actually built it for Microsoft and in conjunction with the product team. And the Project app provides a PPM solution for Project for the Web. And this new Microsoft solution does not at this point have full feature parity with what you are used to having in Project Online, but it still has enough there that is still a good fit as it is for many customers out there today. Now, OnePlan as an organization, we provide the solution, services, and support to ensure customer transition, make sure you get value in the outcomes you're looking for and have a successful implementation. So we can definitely help you there. But we've also had value-added IP that Paul kind of flashed at you at the end there. And next week's webinar at this same time, will show how this accelerator combined with OnePlan extends and even goes beyond the capabilities that you're used to having with Project Online today. It makes it even more powerful a solution and a more modern solution moving forward. So our next webinar next week, if you go out to oneplan.ai/webinars, it's called Kickstart Your Microsoft PPM Deployment Using Power Apps and Project for the Web Using OnePlan. Feel free to go out there and register for this, and I think it'll be an exciting set of capabilities that you'd like to see. And just to give you an idea what that is, it's the additional capabilities, as the analyst like Gartner says, that people want to have in their project and portfolio management solutions. The ones in the blue, like time management, financial management, resource capacity planning, and project portfolio management advanced capabilities, is something that people want to see. And what we can add, and what we consider kind of that run phase in this environment, is adding things like strategy execution and strategic alignment with your initiatives and your projects. Advanced portfolios, so you can have multiple portfolios and visuals that you like for those portfolios. Being able to do prioritization and scenario modeling with your portfolios for selection and optimization. Detailed financial plans, capacity plans, etc. So we'll talk about this and what a run environment looks like next week. Also, for the team members, having like a My Work area where users can go to update all their tasks, or even do a timesheet that people may be using in Project Online today. There's an integrated timesheet that actually allows people to have that capability today. And on top of that, if you think about the things I just mentioned, we can also make this a fully what we call an adaptive PPM solution by using more than just Project for the Web. People might be asking, what's the role for Project Desktop? I like using Project Professional. Well, we're going to show a mode where you can actually use a full copy of Microsoft Project and bring it into this mix and into this solution, as well as Agile plans from Azure DevOps and Jira and more. So the key here is there's a lot more that can be done depending on your requirements. So we hope to see you next week as we go do this extended demonstration and topic. Now, for those of you wondering how we get to make a transition into something like this, OnePlan does offer a free roadmap workshop to talk to you about your current use of solutions and assess, your current state and desired future state, and then really walk through how to, what would it take to get you from point A to point B, both from a licensing perspective, both from an effort and services perspective, and just overall total cost of ownership, and even a roadmap for incremental or phase-based types of rollouts to something like this. So as a next step, I mentioned the free trial that you can access. I mentioned the roadmap workshop that we hope you would engage with us on. And Paul gave a very high-level generalized demo today. If you want something a little more tailored to your use cases and the challenges of your organization, we can give you and schedule a one-on-one demonstration for your organization as well. You can contact us at contact@oneplan.ai. Also OnePlan.ai. In addition to that, we have some specific information about the accelerator at ppmaccelerator.com. So I'd like to thank you. Reach out to us either in general to the company email, or you'll get a copy of these slides. The email for myself and Paul are both on here as well if you'd like to reach out to us individually. Thank you for your time and attention today. We hope you got some valuable information and some food for thought here today. And we really do hope to engage with you, so don't be shy about reaching out. We can, with advice or guidance or just any other assistance you might need. Have a great day.